Welcome back to the Village Group Chat. And as you can see, your favorite host is here, Pastor Mike Rogers, and the other host is not here. She's been replaced. Permanently hoping, but no, I'm sorry. You know I can't say that. She's technically. I will tell more about who we are. But ultimately, man, we're so excited, so glad that you decided to join us. And our goal here is to provide hope, encouragement, and even sharing practical tips as we navigate our family's journey. We officially want to welcome all of our listeners, whether you're catching us, where you're part of the Zion family, catching us on YouTube, Zion Anywhere. It's a pleasure to have you. Now for this introduction. It is an honor and pleasure to be sitting here with my man, the pastor, Sean Mason.
My man, Pastor Mike. Hey, look, so I got the opportunity to be with you now. Before I did a recording in times past with Selikka, I had to fill in with you, but we had to make a sequel out of it.
We here now? Yeah. We can go as long as we want because she's not here. We can say what we want because she's not here.
Listen, y'all, it is such a pleasure. Family, it's so good to be with you again. And of course, we're going to cut up and be back with my man, Pastor Mike. So, hey, hope everybody's doing well and looking forward to our time.
Yeah, most definitely, man. Even again, as y'all can hear this voice right here, he's heard across the board. Let me do your intro, do it right. As a refresher, Pastor Sean Mason is the lead pastor of Zion Fort Washington. He's been a licensed and ordained minister of the gospel since 2006. And he later was ordained as pastor at Zion Church in 2019. He received his certification in biblical studies at World Harvest Bible College in 2005 and has continued his education in Dallas Theological Seminary. My God, this dude is you
ain't finished yet. Then.
My God. One of Pastor Sean's greatest joys outside of his relationship with Christ is his marriage to his wife, Carla, and his daughters, Jada and Shayla.
Man, did y'all hear that exceptional? Now that's how you bring them out, dog.
Dude,
thank you for that intro. I had to be in the pastor's posture. How when they introduced the pastor,
hey, for real.
Guest speaker at the church,
and then he just be staring off in this. Just rocking. No, man.
Thank you for that, man. Thank you,
honored, man. Truly honored. Shoot. So let's do this.
Really
typically it's we go through this process of just kind of getting to know you. So you are a man of many talents, but there's one area I want to highlight or focus on today. So in our getting to know you segment, you have a particular skill that not too many people may be familiar with, the role of a boxer.
No, well, I'm not a competing boxer.
Okay.
I'm not in the amateurs.
But you're trained.
I am.
Okay, hold on now. You don't shoot yourself down because that's a skill set that you have.
Right. Yeah. So that's something I enjoy. My dad actually he did box a little bit in Vietnam.
Wow.
For the United States Army.
Yeah.
So that's something that when I was 2 years old, it just started from him putting his hands up and teaching me how to box. Never would he let me compete in boxing. No. He always said, son, look here, you're gonna need your brain. You don't wanna do anything where you constantly getting hit in the head. So he never let me compete. But that's something that, he and I bonded around. We would watch boxing together and all throughout life. That's just something that he and I enjoyed. That was our time together when we watched sports, boxing, whether it be football, etc. So that was how I became familiar with boxing. But it's become to a point where it's like muscle memory now. When him teaching me as a little child. And my dad was one of those, like, we would be in the kitchen and he'd put your hands up. Immediately.
Just out of nowhere.
That's out of nowhere. You gotta be ready. You gotta be ready.
Yeah.
So that's how I got into to boxing. And now I do it really for fitness. At one point at the boxing gym near where I live, I would teach the ages of 8 to, let's say, 14 fundamentals. So I did teach a class there at one point. Just to help kids learn the fundamentals of boxing.
Yeah. Dope, man. Shoot, dude. That was dope. That's a great story, but just a great experience. And so based on your experience inside of the boxing ring, what have you noticed sort of like transferable skills, certain skill sets that you develop in that ring that also help with your everyday application and just in your regular life?
I think, and you've heard Pastor Battle many times in many messages in times past, where he'll reference the sport of boxing, even in part 6 of Keep Running, where he shared 1 Corinthians 9 as a scripture reference that mentions boxing. One of the things I've learned, a few things I've learned from boxing is, number one, poise. Yeah. When you're in the ring or when you're sparring with somebody, you've got somebody in front of you that is swinging with a closed fist, trying to make contact with your body. And sometimes they could get, out of control, or just maybe they want to just kind of wail and start, fledgling their fists and swinging at you. You got to remain poised in those situations. So what you learn one way is stress management. Yeah. How do I have chaos in front of me, but yet I remained in a posture of poise and consistently thinking, how can I evade this attack? Now that'll preach right there. Yeah. Also is endurance. Yeah, I tell people, for physical fitness, if you want to take up boxing for cardiovascular benefit, I challenge people, get in there and hit a punching bag for 3 minutes. So you will find out real early. You will find out how much it takes. Boxing is a very, very challenging, very hard sport, but it's also great for cardiovascular activity. But you got to endure. Yeah. When your arms get tired and you're hitting that bag, you want to see it through. You want to get to completion. You want to get to that final bell. Yeah. And I will say this about boxing as well, life lesson, is you're ever learning. Yeah. My dad taught me how to box just when I was 2 years old. Yeah. And you're constantly learning. That's something I love about the sport of boxing and about other sports as well, is you are constantly learning. There's a slogan that many boxers know, and it's, you don't lose, you learn. Yeah, you learn lessons from a loss. If you lose in the ring, you go back, make the adjustments. And that's why a lot of boxers always want rematches. Yeah. If somebody loses a fight, they immediately say, I want a rematch.
Their style, you've been able to, man, that's such a major perspective just to take in life. You don't lose, you learn.
You learn. This is a lesson learned from a loss. You evaluate, you make those proper adjustments, and you're eager to get back in there and see, can I make the shifts and the changes from this loss, where the lessons I learned can turn into a victory. That's what I learned. I'm sorry to be long-winded.
We long-winded. We got into all of this. We haven't even jumped into the meat of what we talking about. But dude, you the right person to be here today to kind of walk in.
Listen, I got some big shoes to fill with Selikka being out.
Really? Don't X that out. We want to make sure you don't get that back. No, man, we definitely value it. So even if you guys want to connect with us, IG, the Village Group Chat, or at the Village Group Chat, Mike J. Rogers 1. How could we connect with you if somebody wanted to?
I'm on IG as well.
Talk boxing,
Oh, well, my page isn't a boxing page, but you can follow me on IG at Sean B. Mason. That's SHAUN, not WUN B. Mason on IG.
Yeah. Good. So let's dive in, man. Last week, Pastor Battle continued with part 6 of his current series titled Keep Running. His 6 primary points dealt with a particular area I believe all of us at some point in our lives have struggled with. That's anger.
Oh my goodness. Absolutely. Can I say this? Yeah. This Keep Running series, Pastor Battle always has memorable series. To date, this year, I think the Keep Running series has, out of all the series, really hit me the most personally. Not only can I relate to it, whether it be from past experience, but just areas in my life that he speaks to in this series directly, where it highlights changes that I need to make also in my life. And I hope that everybody that's been tuning in to that series is having the same experience, even in your own life and journey with Christ.
And even just to that point, that's real. Like, it may look differently for all of us in some areas, but all of us have struggled with anger, whether it's internal or we choose to express it. That is an area that can cost you if you respond to someone, someone else who's a little who ain't necessarily all the way, but it's a critical aspect that all of you. So let me throw this question your way.
Yes, sir.
Was there ever a moment in your life when your anger raged out of control?
Oh my goodness, absolutely it did. Much through my teenage years, much through like competitive sports. I'd always played sports, and anger was was a familiar emotion that would get me prepared for whether it be games, whether it be like games, football, boxing, things like that. And I think you hit a very poignant example in anger. It can and will cost you. It absolutely will cost you. You could have physical health challenges due to anger, high blood pressure, increased heart rate. It can get you in legal trouble. It could cause personal injury. So absolutely, man, we don't have enough time to talk about my bouts with anger, especially as a child going through teenage years. And I would say even in my 20s also. Yeah.
No, man, I appreciate your transparency and just from a real perspective too. I've had some major health challenges before, and even going back to 2019 when initially experienced a ruptured brain aneurysm. I remember in 2018, 2019, there were some angry points in my life that I was holding on to. But since that process of 2019, one, taking those things before God, then even factoring in and having a system to help me process and move forward past those things. I didn't know 2020 was going to be the year where it ruptured.
My Lord.
And even just that experience reminds me in this season of life that it is critical that I am decompressing and finding a healthy way to decompress in a spiritual and something that's in line with the boundaries that God has for us. But that's critical to anybody.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Thank you for sharing that, Pastor Mike. See, this is why this is so helpful. Because I've known you for years. I was there during 2020 with your recovery, but I didn't know that there was indications even that you would experience in 2018, 2019. I didn't know that. So, man, I'm learning too.
Shoot, man, that's the beauty of life, man. Like some of these lessons that we are getting exposed to, it's our responsibility whether we're going to choose to listen to them and make adjustments, or we're just going to push them things to the side. Let me throw another question your way.
Yes, sir.
What were some of the consequences of mismanaging your anger?
Well, let's say the penalty of discipline. Not necessarily as like a child. I'm not talking about discipline in regards to my parents, but say you were at school and you got in a fight in school. So now you're jeopardizing, your academics, even at a very young age, because you're getting suspended. You know what I mean? Number two is now you're starting to develop a reputation. And that's what, I did in regards to anger. See, I was undersized. I've always been short. So anger was kind of a defense mechanism for me growing up to make sure that nobody wanted to attempt to bully me or push me around because I was smaller. And anger was that immediate defense mechanism where if I displayed anger or if I got into a fight, then I knew that would deter future encounters of somebody thinking that they could, rush on me. And just like in my family is my grandfather and all them, they were aggressive. They were, now my grandfather, they were like 6'7". And I got my grandmother's genes along with my dad where, I'm 5'6". And I remember him telling me when I was a kid, he said, look, man, you gonna have to grab a stick or something. That's how they thought, right? You gonna have to grab a stick because you a little small. Don't let nobody swing on you first. You got to swing first. But that little seed that was put in even as a child from my grandfather, who I revered. I loved my grandfather. I think that kind of spawned something in me that promoted aggression and anger, really for self-defense. And also, let me say this, because I talked about you could cause physical harm. I remember getting angry one time in school and punching a locker. and my hand was swollen. Thank God I didn't break any bones. But these are the kind of manifestations that you have when you have bouts of anger. If you hit something, if you go off, anything like that, you can cause physical injury. So now you got to have a cast on for 4 weeks for a momentary outburst of anger because, you didn't have what we now know as emotional mastery. I hope that helps.
No, man, not even just physical, but the emotional damage that you can do with people that you love.
Absolutely.
With yourself.
Absolutely.
Oh man, like it's and anger is a valid response. There are some things that we should be angry about.
Matter of fact, the Bible says be angry and sin not. So there's an allowance to this emotion of anger, but it needs to be in righteousness. It needs to be in a position of righteous indignation. And the problem is we haven't made concessions. We don't know how to control that, many of us, in a way that's not sinful, where we just don't go off the rails and it becomes damaging.
Were you ever able to identify that root cause in that process? What was and then, definitely don't, if it's private, you don't have to necessarily share.
No, I think transparency leads to transparency. So I'll certainly be transparent, as just following the lead of Pastor Battle in part 6 of Keep Running, where he shares his testimony, even from being a father, from being in the household, and how his son had his name saved and the phone was Grumpy Gus. But I would say I can pinpoint it back to childhood. My dad and I like friends now, but early on, my dad was just a more reserved, quiet, angry person, at least from my perspective. We had moments of fun. We related a lot through sports, but other areas, he just seemed like he was angry. I don't know if it was the stress of his job or if it was the stress of, raising a family in the 80s. I don't know, but he just seemed angry and unhappy often. So what that did was that projected through the household. So it becomes this familiar emotion that is accepted, at least from my perspective, is anger. And, I saw that early on in regards to my dad. And then it was confusing as a child. I can go back, let's say 4 or 5 years old, because once I was able to see my dad get angry about something, it was, 'cause my dad was my hero. But you see that and you say, okay, well, is dad somebody I need to fear? Right? Because I'm scared because I'm seeing him in outbursts of anger. My dad didn't have much emotional mastery. I don't know if we had that kind of intentionality that was focused on that back then. And, a lot of us in our community, we got a lot of pride, so we don't think we need to take necessary steps to develop that control and mastery. But I could go back, Pastor Mike. Childhood is when I would say I identified this familiar fellowship with anger.
Wow.
Yeah, if that makes any sense.
No, that makes a lot of sense, man. I think we underestimate the impact of the environment that we are growing up in.
Man. Absolutely.
Like Pastor James used to always say, more is caught than what is taught.
That's right.
And he would that next phrase he would say, you could communicate or say something till you're blue in the face. But oftentimes they are watching our actions.
That's right.
As kids, we are watching the interactions of our parents. And we're learning how is this a safe zone? Is this an environment where I'm feel comfortable with expressing my feelings? Or do I need to hold on to these things for fear of being called something?
Absolutely. Man, that is so impactful. And as we're talking about, the family, and I know you as the co-lead of the family ministry, so much of that was caught rather than taught. And so much of what I was catching and what I was taking in as a child overruled what he was taught. I was taught not to do these things, right? So when I would have outbursts of anger, my dad would correct me. He would discipline me and say, man, you can't do that. Well, how you gonna tell me I can't do that when this is an accepted emotion in our household? So, as I mentioned, I played a lot of sports and especially, contact sports, and being angry as a child, and my dad and grandfather, they seemed like they were more alpha males, right? They enjoyed even sports and things that had aggression in it. They enjoyed boxing. They enjoyed football. They enjoyed like combat sports where there was this physicality, and we cheer that on even as a culture. So it's almost being reinforced and accepted as this is a means to success, because we see cheering and affirmation like, yeah, this person's passionate. But that was something that as a child that I had learned, and I don't think it was drilled in me because it wasn't quite accepted, because I would get disciplined for it, but it was what I caught rather than what I was taught. It was more so that do as I say, not as I do, but it had the opposite effect, you know, on myself growing up.
Dude, man, this joint has been so. I wish we would have. Man, you're gonna have to come back. You know?
see when they say that means I'm talking too much.
No, that means you talking. But there are some people who talk too much, and you want to shut them down. But then also just kind of unpack, and even just your perspective is helpful. I pray it's valuable to our listeners. I know it's been valuable to us. Remember when we were at a restaurant, and I was just kind of just asking a lot of different questions.
I do remember. That was like 4 years ago. I remember that, man. Just, you always ask great questions.
But I appreciate how other people are wired and and like I'm able to learn and express, then even to see how we can partner to continue to moving forward with God's mission, but then even just like other practical things, man. And then, I know you do have a reputation for joking a lot, doing like meetings and stuff like that. Let's go on to that. Okay. I was lying, but I've been joking too much. But so one of the things that we do after just having this conversation, we just kind of want to give some weekly motivation for our listeners. Now, Pastor Battle's final point, he said, our anger needs boundaries.
Yes.
It's a reminder that anger is a natural response to different injustices or experiences we confront in life. As we conclude, what are some practical tools that you found helpful in controlling your anger?
First was identifying that this needs to be harnessed.
Yeah.
Anger can be much like a tornado. You don't see all of the damage until it's over.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Once you calm down and see the damage that maybe you've said something to somebody else, maybe a loved one, a friend, something like that, or even somebody that you really don't know too well. Yeah. Once you see the damage that anger has the great potential to cause, then you identify this is something I need to change. What's helped me is, number one, I got older, and once I became a father and a husband, I had to identify I need emotional mastery. Yeah. Because I was much like Pastor Battle mentioned, and how he was in the house, not necessarily from a disciplinarian. I just seemed easily agitated, right? And as you mentioned, as a father of girls, there was something I needed to be definitely more intentional about in identifying what is it. First of all, why am I angry? Yeah. What is it that makes me angry? And I need to get help to be able to not only identify, but to develop anger mastery. Yeah. Because what happens is we come to Christ, and thank God by his Holy Spirit, we're able to not only harness it, but God can use it. Yeah, because definitely. My anger, I think when I got saved, it just was boldness. Yeah. I had boldness to proclaim the gospel. I had boldness to defend the faith. I had the boldness to evangelize the people. So God was able to use it. That's why I was talking about the righteous side of anger. But however, I knew I needed mastery in regards to how I was able to harness it. And I didn't harness it well early on in the adverse environment. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, yeah. So I had to get somebody, I had to get with wise counsel and grow wise about how do I harness this anger in this emotion where it's not so damaging, where I'm not causing collateral damage. Yeah. I had to identify. I was in my 20s when I identified it. Yeah, so, I can tell you, I went through life just with this reactionary, impulsive response and emotion.
Yeah. That's major. Even just being open to share. Like, I've multiple times, I started counseling back in 2008. And now I've had different counselors who've been able to help support me every step of the way. But I know I'm gonna be in counseling for the rest of my life. Wow. And the perspective, the emotions, but then even in giving me some practical tools that when after that 50 minutes is up and I'm paying my bill, like I can do some tangible things that in my life to help me become better, help me be more in tune with those experiences. Wow. So counseling is critical. Something else I believe that we don't necessarily utilize as much, power of prayer.
Oh my Lord.
Like genuinely taking moments, not just like before blessing your food, you got the ritual of prayer, but man, just genuinely taking time, taking opportunity, just say, God, I need your help in this moment. God, help me to calm down.
Yeah. And also praying for one another.
Yeah.
By our transparency, I'm able to do what I call commit myself to your conscience. Yeah. So when you're praying and I pop up during your time of prayer, you could pray for me, and we could also keep each other accountable. This is what transparency does. And I think there's something that we overlook as believers, no matter where you are in your journey with Christ, is the progressive work of the Holy Spirit. We want an instant change, and we expect to see that in other people. We want to see instant change, but there's a progressive change. And now we can get to this place where, I could talk about my bouts with anger in times past, where it's a testimony, where it'll help you. And you even have the recognition to know this is something I'm going to have to continue to deal with. Because it in many cases, it could be ever present as an emotion, but this is something that I need to continue to grow in. And hopefully my growth, your growth is able to help the listeners.
Yeah, shoot, man, dude. Hopefully, my goodness, this thing was a game changer, man. Who was the other person that used to host, man?
Oh, man, don't stop.
Whenever you feel motivated. But man, if people just wanted to really just come to us for prayer, or even like, this is one thing that I try to, we open in prayer. And then I try to pray even as I'm outlining these episodes, and there's definitely power found through there. So if people want to connect with you and even to see what you're doing on the Fort Washington campus, how best could they reach you?
Please, of course. Well, you're always welcome. I would extend the invitation to everybody when you're in the area, no matter what Zion Church campus you may attend. If you're ever in the Fort Washington area, check us out every Sunday, 9:45 a.m. at Oxon Hill High School. Come visit your Fort Washington family. Maybe, you haven't had the opportunity to come see us. Please, when you're in the area, when you have an opportunity, maybe a Sunday, you come by, check us out, fellowship with us. Other than that, social media, Pastor Mike, Sean B. Mason on IG.
That's right. Mike J. Rogers 1, the Village group chat. If you want to continue to connect with us beyond, man, shoot, y'all have a blessed one. Y'all have a great one. Take care.
Take care, y'all.